Welcome back to the Nuckhead podcast. I hope you're having a good morning. I hope you're having a good week. I know I am. The Canucks are on a 3-game win streak, and they're responsible for most of my mental well-being, so you know I'm feeling good right now. This episode is going to be a little tiny bit different than normal, because today's guest is one of my best friends. And if you're wondering, Nuckhead, why are you having one of your friends on the show? Well, I have two answers to that question. One, it's my show. I can do whatever I want. I could interview a spider if I wanted to. And two, because him and I, for whatever reason, love to debate. Some may call it bickering, and it may even sound like arguing, but it's all in good fun. No one ever gets their feelings hurt. Well, I wouldn't know because I've won every single argument we've ever had. Maybe he's getting his feelings hurt, I don't know. Shoot, maybe that'll be one of my questions for him. Anyway, he was never quite the hockey nerd that I was growing up. His sport was soccer, so we never really discussed hockey, but lately he's been getting super into it. And he's learning a lot too, like pretty quickly. He's already sent me some of his hot takes, and I don't really like them, but instead of replying, I realized that instead of having another one of our classic arguments in private, maybe it would be entertaining for you guys to have him on the podcast and just do it here. But no promises, okay? We might just get along the whole time and hang out. I don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, let's find out. So please welcome my friend. Oh, actually, I don't know his name, by the way. I mean, I know his real name, but like me, he's also gonna go under an alias, and I don't know what he's chosen for that yet. So that'll be my first question for him. Anyway, okay, yeah, let's start.
I seriously considered picking an alias like Timu Solani just to give you the chance to have like a clickbaity title. Like, yeah, I go by Timu Solani, so you can just put podcast with Timu Solani on there.
Wait, so you're not going to have an alias?
No, I'm going to go with something like really bland. I'm going to go by like Carl or some shit. I don't know.
Did you listen to the intro?
No, I actually didn't get a chance. Should I?
Well, if the intro, like I make it pretty clear, I'm like, and I don't know what his name's going to be, so let's find out. And you're going to be like, Carl?
Carl. I'm going to go with Carl.
They're just going to think I have a friend named Carl.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then what should I go by?
No, it's just hilarious. Like I thought you were going to be some like cool name. Like,
Carl's a pretty cool name.
Think about it. Throughout our entire friendship, when have you not like made a hilarious weird name?
What about Xerxes, aka Carl? Carl seems more stoic.
And I'm going to have the choice between calling you Carl or... Carl doesn't seem stoic. Wait, what do you mean?
Carl's kind of a stoic name.
No, I think of the Jimmy Neutron kid.
That's a good point.
Carl. Isn't his name Carl? Or I think of the Walking Dead, like Carl. And both those characters suck.
Yeah. I think of a name that feels like it's been here since the beginning of time and will...
No way.
There's
no way you'd go back like 500 years and meet someone named Carl.
Before there was John, there was Carl.
Well, I am going to search how old is the name Carl, and I'll have you know that this is the podcast right now. How old is the name Carl? It can be traced back to the early Middle Ages.
Biblical.
Clearly, this is you're definitely Carl now. Like,
yeah.
Okay, well, that covers the first question, I guess, which was going to be what's your alias, and it's just Carl. That's awesome. How do you spell Carl? Is it normal?
Yeah, classic CARL.
Okay. All right. Why don't we just start off with you blind ranking the top 5 best Canucks players of all time? I'm just going to name Canucks players, and then you have to put them either. You know how this works? 1, 2, 3, or 5. But yeah. You can't move them after.
Okay. Am I going off of like just pure points or like how much I
think it's a mix of points, goals, biggest moments, most fan love.
So I'm going off of everything. Like that.
Yeah, like just yeah. Okay. Todd Bertuzzi.
Ooh. I'm gonna give him 4.
4?
4.
Roberto Luongo.
Ooh. That's a 2.
Okay. Connor Garland.
My brain says 5, but my heart says 3. I'm gonna have to go 5 though.
Okay. Ryan Kessler.
Okay, there's my 3, I think. Oh no. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. There's my 3.
Okay, that's good. And then finally, Mark Messier.
Was this a trap?
Yes, it was.
It was a trap.
Carl's top 5 Canucks: Messier, Luongo, Kessler, Bertuzzi, Garland. Okay, that makes me happy. And do you stand by that list?
Yeah, I'll defend it on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, how about this? What do you think is wrong with Pettersson? You, Carl, specifically. Because I've heard you've had opinions on this.
I mean, okay, so watching the games this year, it is reminding me a lot of how the season finished last year. And you and I talked about his injury that he was apparently carrying since January and all this kind of stuff. But he seems to have kind of lost his identity on the ice a little bit. You know, like when you look at JT Miller, he has an identity on the ice, right? Like he's a guy that people expect something of, and he expects something of himself. He's going to hold himself and those around him to that standard.
Yeah, I agree, because his identity, like leading up until this slump he's on, was probably it definitely was a skillful playmaker. So, and he was also a two-way forward. He still makes great defensive plays, but the thing that's weird is, okay, maybe he's going through an injury or maybe he's dealing with something mentally, but like when you don't see him trying crazy moves and failing very often now. It's more like he's going with the safe play, which is strange, because like if anyone has any leeway to make those kinds of mistakes, it's him. Like Tocchet is not going to bench him if he tries to do a stupid move and it fails. I mean, if he does it all the time, he wouldn't get benched, but he wouldn't do it all the time. The point is, like, he's not even staying true to like at least trying the crazy shit he used to. Then I definitely agree with that, and that makes me think it must be mental.
Well, I would say it's entirely mental, because, like, as we've seen, there were times last year towards the end of the year where he did show that spark. I also am of the mindset that there's no reason that a player should be playing injured for 5 months when the playoffs, weren't even fully in sight, when he could have taken a month, gotten back and kind of shared the load with the team. I don't know if that was super good for him and for his confidence.
Yeah,
but he's kind of lacking. He's lacking that the grit that Vancouver had for a lot of last year that made them so fun to watch, and a team that people could kind of get behind and get excited. He bothers me sometimes now when I see him on the puck. Like every now and then he'll make a beautiful pass or show just how deep his hockey IQ is while moving the puck. And then other times he's kind of a pylon out there.
But like you know me, I'm not going to assume that he has any control over this. Like there's a lot of people, not really people you should pay attention to, but there's a lot of them, and some of them might be reaching him, which I'll talk about in a second. But like the thing is, a lot of people are saying like, oh, he signed his big deal, he doesn't care anymore. And do you have that mindset, or because in my mind, like nobody at all cares about this more than he does. Not like there's not all 18,000 people in the arena on any given night. All the people watching the game at home combined don't care about his performance as much as he does. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, it's his name that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People are talking about him. I'm sure he takes a lot of it, personally, and it may not really help in terms of snapping out of it, but I do see it as a trade-off in a lot of ways. Like Vancouver as a city has invested a lot of their kind of larger emotions behind sports into him. The team has invested a lot into him, and I don't think it's unreasonable to look at it and say we should be seeing more returns than we are right now.
And that's probably the mounting pressure he feels, right?
Yeah.
It's like is that what they call a catch-22? Am I right? Is that what that is?
I'm not sure if it's a catch-22. It's just kind of like a rock and a hard place. I guess which is like a catch-22. There's no good option. You just kind of have to get through it.
It's a paradox basically, because he's not performing well because he has this mounting pressure, but the more he doesn't perform well, the more pressure is on him. Well, and what could even break him out of that?
I heard he snapped out of it.
Wait, you just cut out pretty bad there. What'd you say?
I mean, I feel like
whoa. You sound like you just went 5 feet underwater. Backtrack like 10 steps wherever you just walked.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now. What did you just do? You just get captured? Did you just get abducted?
No, I'm in my basement. I'm safe. It's my fortress.
Okay.
We're talking about Pettersson, right?
Yeah. No, I was saying, like, what would break him out of that paradox, that loop?
Either a trade, which is kind of the nuclear scenario, and it comes down to a change of scenery, a change of maybe coaching, a change of line mates. But I don't think that's the option anyone really wants to go for right now. I hope he doesn't.
I mean, it's also probably very. I don't even know how they would get that done.
I know, but if we're talking about breaking him out of this slump, a trade is like the nuclear option. Time.
We've seen that happen before. Like that happens to star players every now and then.
Yeah, time and just consistency, and hoping that that's kind of the groundwork for him getting back to where he's shown he can play. But it's hard to say.
I've been like not fully avoiding it, but I don't talk about it in my. It's like one of the number one conversations in the world of Canucks media since February, since he signed the deal. And when you consider that, I've been pretty quiet about it, like in the videos and the podcast, because I've been kind of wanting to wait it out to see, okay, maybe it's an injury. Like, cause when it first started happening, like, I know what you're saying. Like you shouldn't be playing injured for that long, but the Canucks were in a playoff hunt. They wanted that home ice advantage. I get if he was playing through it then, but now, like the start of the season, he could miss the first week of the season. He could miss the first 2 weeks of the season. Now is where I'm like, okay, clearly, if it is an injury, he's playing through it, which is stupid, and which makes me think it's not. It like 100% is mental. And now I'm kind of like not sounding the alarm, but I'm like ready to acknowledge that, like, yeah, it's definitely a problem. It's not a slump. Like it is. We'll look back on it as a slump, I believe, but it's not it's not as small of a deal as I wanted to make it out to be before. Like it is worrisome, because if it's mounting pressure, which I think we both agree it is, I don't know how that's going to stop. I mean, me now agreeing with everyone mounting the pressure on him probably doesn't help, but
I don't think pointing out that he's in a slump is as toxic as people make it out to be. I think that the way that you point it out and the way you talk about it can help. Like a lot of professional athletes go through this. It's not unheard of. It's not crazy. Sports psychology has become a massive thing over the past few years, and I'm hopeful he can turn it around. It's going to be a brutal contract to move on if he doesn't. But yeah, I think.
How do you think it's going to end?
I have full confidence he can get back to where he was at the start of last year, the year before that, and kind of refine his identity as a hockey player.
And do you think it'll happen this season?
Well, as a Canucks fan, I really, really hope so, but you know, I can't really put a timeline on that. For 41 games of the year, there's 19,000 people watching him do something live in person. And for another 41, he's traveling around a continent performing for people.
He's basically Taylor Swift.
I mean, when you put it like that, if he can't handle that pressure, that's no small issue by any means.
But like, what would have sparked it? Because is it just like, did he get older and like, he's 25, 26 now? I can't remember. But did his like frontal lobe develop, and now he's like understands the pressure that's on him? He's not young and naive anymore? Or is it the fact that he did sign this huge contract and that is weighing him down a little bit? Like what actually could it be? That's the thing that I don't know. Because these criticisms have been there forever. Also, I should mention that famously, we were a little too young to be a part of this discourse, but famously, this exact thing basically happened with Henrik and Daniel Sedin before they had their breakout seasons and never looked back. They took a while to it's funny because Pettersson has already put up 100-point season, and that took the Sedins quite a while to get to. But in terms of having a successful season and not really building on it, the Sedins kind of stayed at a certain level for a few years, and people started doubting if they were good enough, and the Canucks weren't finding success in the playoffs, and they were like, they started calling the Sedins soft. but obviously that changed. So someone mentioned the fact that the Sedins are in the organization. They're helping coach. So hopefully they're the exact people that could help him with this issue.
Yeah, I would hope that having them as kind of mentors is helping him. I think Vancouver, especially for kind of Swedish and the Nordic players, has been a bit of a haven. We seem to love our Swedes, and we have for a long time.
Actually. It's so funny how many there's been.
So I would hope that this is the environment that he can thrive in. And yeah, I really hope he turns it around. But
well, I actually mentioned this in the video I'm working on now, or I guess, yeah, it's coming out later today because this is technically Thursday morning. That I think putting Pettersson with Höglander and Garland is absolutely genius, because those two guys on multiple occasions since they've joined the team will pull the rest of the team into the game, whether it's grinding out a goal or getting the other team pissed at one of them and now all the Canucks wake up. They have constantly just dragged their teammates into the fight, into the battle every single time. And you put both of them on a line with one of the best players in the world who's currently struggling. I think that might be enough to pull him out. Like, we already saw a glimpse of Pettersson last game when he made that really heads-up pass, or 2 games ago, I guess, really heads-up pass to Höglander there. So, and like, that's classic Pettersson. Most players would have just panicked and shot right at the goalie's chest. He took a second and found Höglander. So yeah, putting him with those two guys, I think is honestly genius.
I don't disagree. I've been very happy with Tocchet since he came in. One thing I would say just about that, though, and it's a small point, I wish that Pettersson was the kind of guy we could put on a line to help out struggling players. You know what I mean?
I mean, he is, but not right now.
Yeah, it's great that we can utilize Höglander and Garland to try and get the most out of Pettersson. But, you know, I long for the day as a Canucks fan where we can have a line that JT Miller leads and a line that Pettersson leads, and those two players are able to bring just collectively the best out of the other 4. And then we can be talking about Vancouver as a team that has two very elite top lines.
Yeah, and you know what's exciting is that we already have what you need to have that, and we've seen glimpses of it. So it's like I said earlier, I hope we look back on this as like a speed bump or a slump.
Yeah,
because you're right. Like, having Miller and Pettersson, your top two centers, and when they're both playing, like when they're both at their peak, how on earth not many teams have 2 defense pairings that can go up against those guys, or 2 centers that can go up against those guys. They just don't. There's really not that many. And then and the ones that do, like Edmonton, they just cancel each other out. You know, so then it's a battle of the bottom 6, and the Canucks will win that every time too, with players like Joshua and Connor Garland and Höglander.
I mean, maybe I even have more faith than you, but I think our top 6 players with a fully functioning Pettersson leading a line is rolling most defenses on most nights.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I think most defenses, absolutely, but head-to-head matchups, like forwards wise, if you go like number 1 versus 1 and 2 versus 2, I think the only team that would give us a handful would be Edmonton, which is frustrating. But I mean, because like McDavid, Draisaitl, I don't know how you.
It's Edmonton.
That's tough. That's tough.
Well, and that actually leads into something I wanted to ask you about, which is this NHL Global Series that we have going on.
Oh, right, yeah. I know nothing about this, for the record. Like, I know very little.
Do you have any thoughts? It seems like they're just picking 2 NHL teams once a month to fly on 12-hour flights in the middle of a busy schedule to a country that already has hockey teams and play hockey there.
Wait, has it not happened yet?
Yeah, so Buffalo and New Jersey opened the season in Czechia.
Right, okay.
And then I know Florida is heading to Finland November 1st. I don't actually know who they're going up against, but they seem to just be sending like mini-series, kind of 2-game mini-series out around the world.
Oh.
So I was wondering what your take on that is.
You're right. It's Florida and Dallas going to Finland November 1st and 2nd.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are my thoughts on that? Well, I mean, it confused the shit out of us when we were trying to figure out how our fantasy worked, and there was those 2 games. We didn't know if it counted as its own week, if we should pick up only Buffalo players, or what the hell was going on. But other than that, like, I don't really know. I remember I'm looking it up now. They did in 2018. They went to China I believe it was just preseason games. Vancouver played 2 games there against the Kings, and then Calgary played 2 games against the Bruins. And that's a bit cooler. Like, I guess that's not the global series, but it's the same idea. That's a bit cooler because China, that turned some kids on to hockey there. I don't know, but you're right. Going to places that already have hockey, it's interesting.
Well, what I would love to see, and this may kind of be a bit more of a soccer background coming out, why not send over the Stanley Cup winner or the conference final winners to do kind of a mini series against whoever wins the leagues over there? I think that would.
I don't know how many people would tune in to watch a 35-0 game though. That's the thing that, like, okay, Russia. Okay, I'm joking, but like, yeah, a team in China, as it stands right now, is not going to do much against an NHL team. No, but like, I get what you're saying. Like the KHL, that would be really sick if the winner of the KHL season played the winner of the NHL season. Like, that would be sick. Or the Elite Liga, I believe it's called is that Finland? Elite Liga?
Yeah. Like the amount of, I don't know. I find it so funny the way that we talk about this is the NHL is the be all end all league when we almost rarely never see the NHL guys get to face off against European opponents. Meanwhile, most of the NHL teams are made up of European guys. And from when I started watching hockey, in 2005, 2004 as a kid to now, we've seen the addition of elite German players. We've seen the addition of Latvian players starting to break out and make lineups. We're seeing the smaller kind of Eastern European, Central European countries start to grow.
There's an Australian player.
Yeah, frankly, we're seeing it for all North American sports. I've seen, YouTube shorts of Serbian basketball games that look absolutely insane. So there's already like a hockey culture that has been growing. I don't think the idea that they need to see something in person that they can see on TV or that they already, get glimpses of in Norway, in Sweden, in Czechia, in Germany. They don't maybe care so much about New Jersey as they would if their homegrown leagues actually started to retain some players, and we could create a much more global version of hockey, which I think would just be amazing to watch. I think of the Olympics. I think of the World Juniors and the spectacles that those are. Some of the most exciting hockey I've gotten to watch as a Canadian and a Canucks fan, which, take that as you will. I don't see why people wouldn't want more of it. Watching Moritz Seider this year, that guy's going to be one of the best defenders in the league. Draisaitl is already one of the best centers in the league. The European talent is coming to North America and playing on par with most of the Canadian and American academies. I don't see why we're sending teams over there to play each other.
Yeah, that is kind of funny from a soccer standpoint.
Yeah, like to call it a global series and then just import 2 American,
it's like
an American Canadian team.
It's like, literally Buffalo versus New Jersey.
Yeah,
that's such a funny thought, actually.
Like, I'm gonna get on a train from Dusseldorf and go watch the New Jersey Devils play against Buffalo.
It's also like not even the 2 best teams.
It just seems weird. Well, and if I'm like, doing a global series, I think they got it. If the one compliment I will give them, sending Barkov to play in Finland is a good idea. That's someone that cool. will attract Finnish players.
Actually, that's a good point. Maybe Buffalo, New Jersey was who's from Czechia? I'm Googling it now. Pavel Zacha. Oh no, but he's on Boston now.
Yeah, no.
Pasternak, Andre Palat. I'm trying to find anyone from Filip Hronek is from Czechia. Radek Faksa, Radko Gudas. Are any of these people on those 2 teams? I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Do you think Dougie Hamilton is from Czechia?
Yeah, maybe. I guess let's think about it. The reason they're doing it's not about growing the game, obviously, because you're right. They would have been a bigger deal. They would have sent like Team Canada. It's clearly they're wanting to grow NHL, the product. So they're going to places like Finland and like Czechia that already have, I guess, a big hockey crowd. and they're like, hey, we have a really good hockey product over here in North America. We want you to watch. Here's a game. I get that, actually. I kind of get that, but is it going to be successful? I don't know. Like, rather than going to somewhere like China, where you're like, you gotta, I mean, as far as I know, you'd have to start from the ground up, if not very close to the ground in terms of building interest in hockey. But you're going somewhere, you're kind of like doubling down, like you're feeding your, I can't think of a term right now, but you know what I mean? I kind of get it. I kind of get it. Like,
the other thing that you run into as well, and it's, I don't think talked about enough when it comes to sports, but sport diplomacy is huge. I think hockey has a great 1972 series between the Soviet Union and Canada was one of the few times that those two cultures actually got to mesh and compete, and it was riveting. You talk to people that were hockey fans during that time and watched the series, and a lot of them speak very, very highly of it. It was the first time that the Soviet team ever was kind of brought into the fold, and I guess talking about Soviet team in Russia now is a little bit more complex, but I just think to kind of devalue what goes on in the smaller academies and the smaller leagues that end up producing these top players that the NHL picks up seems a little bit short-sighted to me. And to add just kind of the final nail in the coffin, we're taking an 82 game season that has a ton of traveling, probably two of the larger landmass countries, and I think could be one of the largest continents. I need to brush up on my geography, and sending them on 2 12-hour plane rides or 10-hour plane rides to a different time zone to play 2 games of hockey and then come back and resume their 82 game season schedule. We've already seen a bunch of injuries to guys. The game load can be a lot. Goalies are being rotated at a frequency that's kind of new to a lot of people. It just feels, and I mean, as a Vancouver fan, how many times have you complained about our travel times?
Yeah.
Right. So in the middle of the season, you throw in a plane ride to Germany.
Yeah.
And you're talking about some tired guys, and they come back from these trips and they're playing in front of their home crowds, and the home crowd expects the same invigorated, they don't expect to be watching guys that are flipping back from the opposite time zone 2 days ago, getting off a plane. It feels a little bit like some of the fans here are getting shafted for what I don't, personally, in my opinion. It's just that I don't think the Global Series is going to do that much in terms of hockey. I think people that are in Europe and enjoy hockey are probably already watching hockey. I don't think hockey is an unknown entity. I'm pretty sure it's a very fast growing sport, even in places like England.
Yeah, the NHL gets a pretty bad rap for its ability to grow the game, and I think obviously I have to preface this by saying I don't know the answer. I don't know really what I'm talking about when it comes to marketing and whatnot. But I've always thought to myself, how is it not more popular in America? Hockey is a entertaining, fast sport that you think would be right up the alley of Americans. And obviously there's millions of Americans that love hockey, but why not way more? That's the part I don't get. Is it maybe a capacity thing? Maybe you grew up on baseball and you grew up on football. You don't even have room in your brain for another league. Could that be it? Because I can't quite figure it out. Is it a marketing issue or is it a product issue? Is it just, if you didn't grow up watching it, you're not entertained? I obviously have a huge bias, but how big is it?
Well, I think there's a big difference between broadly loving sports and loving a sport or a team. And I see it a lot, especially in kind of guys closer to my dad's age, mid 60s. A lot of them didn't play hockey when they were younger. A lot of the Americans I know too, they played high school football. They played baseball growing up. Those were kind of the things that they got invested in. And from there, their interest kind of shifted to watching it. Hockey, even with the people I know that watch it, a lot of them played when they were young. And I think that is the biggest barrier, because watching sports is great, but when you get a chance to play sports with friends,
they see a bit of themselves in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that is a problem. But like, so then really if they want to grow the game in America or even, in Czechia or Finland, you'd be better off building arenas and funding sports teams, like little, like children sports teams. Like that is the long-term game, or sorry, that's the long game marketing wise of how you grow the NHL and how you grow the sport.
Yeah. And I mean, once again, I come from a soccer background. I've seen players from small towns in, smaller countries that don't get a lot of attention fundamentally change their countries based off of their performance in a sport or what they're able to give back to a community because of sport. The more kids involved, the better this is going forward. It's what, you run into it with every sport. The minute that the kids stop playing, 10 years down the line, you're in trouble.
I just had a great idea, dude.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The Canucks need to open a facility next to the arena just for children, pick them up as soon as they're like 6 or 7 and start training them and like make them sign early contracts that basically say, hey, if you get drafted by any other team, you are forbidden from signing with them. You also can't tell anybody about this or we'll kill you.
That's funny because now you're almost taking a page out of global soccer, which is academies. You have scouts going to small everyday games, finding a kid at 9-10 years old and saying, come play for our academy. We'll raise you. We'll train you. What we see in you, you could be a player in the future. And there's a lot of positives and negatives to that. You end up with a lot of 20-year-olds that one day are sat down and just kind of told they're not it. And they've invested their entire youth into this thing. It can be absolutely brutal. But yeah, I mean, with that, I would have said we should have signed Bedard and Celebrini too.
Yeah. That really seems to bother you.
But
well, you've texted me on multiple occasions, like
just kind of randomly angry.
Yeah, like angry about Bedard and Celebrini, how they're not on Vancouver, or that we should trade Pettersson for Bedard.
We've never had a first overall draft pick.
No,
they
did, but they traded it.
Yeah, but we've never actually gotten to pick a player.
But like, it's so that, I mean, to be fair though, it's a pointless thing to say because if you look back on a couple of the recent draft years, Quinn Hughes, we drafted 7th, is going first if you did that redraft. So we won the draft lottery that year. And the year Pettersson got drafted, I believe he would have been second behind only Makar, that's just me going off the top of my head. But yeah, like I guess in like ceremonially, we've never had the first overall pick, but we've had the best player in the draft. And then like obviously the 1999 draft, Henrik Sedin and Daniel Sedin, the second and third, those were the best players in the draft. So you just want to be able to like, you want them to go up on the podium and be like, with the first overall pick, the Canucks choose blank.
Well, and just the sigh of relief that I would have to have a player of that caliber, that kind of top 3, preferably generational in the way people talk of Celebrini and Bedard, interview in the way that Celebrini and Bedard did, talking about Vancouver, and then actually get to play for Vancouver.
Yeah.
The amount of guys in my lifetime that I have seen at a draft interview talk about the Vancouver Canucks as a team that they want is near zero. To have 2 of those guys labeled as generational talents floating around in the NHL, my little monkey brain wants nothing more than for us to throw everything at those contracts.
Celebrini maybe could move, not anytime soon. Obviously things can change, but the trajectory of Bedard right now, I don't think he's ever going to leave Chicago ever, unless he personally requests a trade. But it's very rare for stars or for players of that caliber to request trade.
You think he's going to try and compete with Taves?
I mean, I don't know. He's 18 or 9. I guess he's 19 now. In a brand new city, like he's going to form his whole life there. And he's going to be treated like a god for the next 20 years if he stays there. And Chicago's a beautiful city from everything I hear. The team's got a ton of history.
I don't disagree with any of that, but I would say all of that is also true in Vancouver, with the addition that he's a hometown boy who's, he grew up a bridge away looking at the city. living in the city, playing in the city. He knows this place. He could come to Vancouver and be a legend, and that's kind of what I mean. If a first overall draft pick come time for the end of his rookie contract, and he's like, no, I'm going home. I'm going to Vancouver. I want to be there when they lift a cup. I think you could apply everything you just said about Chicago to Vancouver and with Bedard, or celebrating.
Well, okay. If there would need to be a perfect storm of things to happen. Like, let's say the Canucks win the cup this year. Bedard's rookie contract will be up at the end of, well, he'll be able to re-sign, I believe, at the end of this season. He has one more year after this before would technically be a free agent, or I guess a restricted free agent. If the Canucks won the cup this year or next year or both years, and like they look like a perennial favorite, and Bedard's time in Chicago just shit the bed, like something really went wrong, and maybe he could request a trade, but he would still be a restricted free agent at that point. The Blackhawks would still have control over him, but he could request a trade now. But I don't think it's going to happen. What I think is going to happen, honestly, because what you said makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to come play with your hometown team? I think
it's a pipe dream. I should make that clear.
Well, I mean, it's a pipe dream for Bedard to be here in his prime, but like, honestly, fast forward 18 years, and I don't think it's all that crazy to think you might see Bedard on the second line and Celebrini on the third line, when they're in their latter years of the league. Like, it's possible. It very well can happen. And that's a fun thought, but they're not. There won't be the players they won't be the first overall picks anymore. It'll be more like a swan song type situation. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they'll probably still be effective. Don't get me wrong, but like, realistically, if they're ever going to be on the Canucks, I think that's when it's going to be.
Yeah, and that hurts to hear. I know it's a pipe dream. It would be a Riku in recent history.
Dude. I hope that this is recording you properly, but that whole time it sounded like you were walking in and out of water. Like, are you treading water right now? Are you at the beach?
No, can I blow my nose? I'm in the stuff.
It's not. Yeah, of course you can blow your nose, but it's not the nose. It's the fact that it sounds like you're swimming. Like, not because of your breath or your voice. It's like it sounds like you're going underwater, and then coming up for air, and then it gets clearer, and then you go back underwater. Like, are you bobbing in the middle of the ocean right now?
Yeah, I'm in my lap pool.
You're in your what?
My indoor basement lap pool.
Your indoor basement lap pool?
Yeah.
Damn, what do you do for a living, Carl? In order to have a basement lap pool?
I talk about the Canucks.
You talk about the Canucks for a living?
Yeah.
Oh shit, me too.
Should we tell people I'm the brain behind Nuckhead?
Well, how could that work? That, like, one of us is an AI voice?
No.
Like you write the videos?
What? You're acting like you don't already know this.
Okay, chill. Hold up. Let me just, in your mind, how would this work? That you write this? How then? What am I like? What is the point of me?
You're the voiceover guy.
Because you're underwater, you can't record?
No, I'm too busy swimming laps in my lap pool to.
So you just think up ideas about the Canucks, send them to some guy who's me.
I write the script for you. I write the script for you.
And then I
made you. And
then I give you all the money?
No, it's a fair split.
But you have a lap pool.
Yeah, well, I get enough of it that I can have a lap pool. I don't have much else.
Okay, so all you have is a basement lap pool. Is it a bathtub?
No, but you should see people's faces when you tell them that you have an indoor pool. You really don't have to say much else. They just assume that you live in a very, very nice mansion.
Is it just a basement suite that is only a pool?
No, I just put up like a kind of rubber, like a thick rubber rim around all the walls and ran a hose in there.
So is it like all ruined?
No, I mean, the rubber's holding up.
Oh, the rubber. So what about the people upstairs? Are they mad?
They don't know yet.
They don't know.
They don't know yet.
So you live in a basement suite that you filled with how deep is it?
It's like waist deep.
So filled like a kiddie pool level. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just an air mattress for sleeping.
And that's what a split of YouTube money gets you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let the people decide if they believe that. Also, I have news. I searched Pettersson. I can't remember exactly why, but we were talking about him. So, anyways, I searched him, and 3 hours ago, TSN posted this. He did an interview, I guess, and this is what he's quoted saying: "You can look at the stats and say I stink, but I feel like I've been better." Canucks forward Elias Pettersson says he feels he's played better the last couple of games and shares how much pressure he puts on himself to perform on the ice.
I hope that's not the quote. I don't think that's what you really want to be saying.
He said, "You can look at the stats and say I stink, but I feel like I've been better." Look, I'll say it. I've been editing the video all day. He had a very strong game defensively, like multiple over the course of the last 3 games. I can't remember exactly which ones right now, but there's so many clips of him lifting sticks, stopping tap-ins, poking pucks out. He was on the PK, the penalty kill. And last game against Chicago, they took, I think, like 5 penalties, and he was out there for at least a portion of every single one. He hasn't been a problem. Like, he's not leading to goals against. He's just not scoring many for, I guess, which is what he's paid to do, I guess. But like,
yeah,
I'm just saying, I kind of like, especially if the coaches are hammering into him, like, hey, play the system. Remember the details. If that's what he's just focused on getting down right now, I could agree with what he's saying. Like, yeah, I'm being good defensively, and I have 3 points in 6 games. It's not the best, but like, I don't know.
I would say more so just as like an expectation bar. If he thinks that he's playing well, that concerns me a little bit. Because I don't think I've talked to many people that think he's playing well. So if to him the work is done and this is the product, then maybe I want my money back. But
yeah, I actually know I just went on that rant, but I do see what you're saying. Like, that is kind of the wrong thing to say. If he is aware of what people are saying, like those annoying people I referenced that say he doesn't care.
That's not how you make it stop. You show up, you put in 5 games consistently, you lead the team in points, you play the way that you've shown people you can play. You don't tell them that you're playing as well as you have.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a weird quote, I will say. Maybe he's been given advice to use it as fuel or something. Like, he's like, let me anger that group of people saying those things I'm just grasping at straws here, but to like, I don't know, whatever.
No, that's fair.
I'm trying to, I don't know. Like, maybe because like at this point, I mean, the Canucks have a whole media team and whatnot. And when their star $11 million player, like it's a sport, but that's an investment. That's a very, very big investment. Yeah, like they're probably very meticulous with what they say to the media. So either he said what he was told to say or what he was suggested to say, or he just slipped up and said whatever he wanted. So I guess what I'm saying is
there's also
every reason behind it. Yeah.
There's also the sneaky third option, which is that we just saw 5 words from a 12-minute long interview, and TSN is going to get a lot of clicks by a lot of upset Vancouver fans and a lot of curious NHL fans that I don't think need much more reason to kind of pile on. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I see it all the time in sports media. They're running a business as much as the Canucks are. If that is the full quote and the real quote and the sentiment that he's putting forward, that's concerning.
He's not doing JT Miller shit out there. JT Miller's playing injured right now. JT Miller scored that overtime winner. He tied the game against Calgary in an amazingly entertaining fashion. Miller is carrying this team. Hughes put up 9 shots against Philadelphia, I believe. 9.
That's another thing.
Actually, that might have been Florida. It doesn't matter. He put up 9 shots and 1 goal. Like, that's insane.
Hughes wants those goals. Hey, he's going for another 20-plus season. I feel like every time I see him break the blue line now, he's looking for a shot.
But I don't think he's even hit 20 goals, just so you know. I think he's actually like, I think if I'm remembering correctly, he had a quote where he's like, I want to hit 20 goals this year.
He hit 20? What did he hit, 19 or 17 last year?
I don't know. I'll search it.
No, I think I had his stats somewhere. I was comparing him and Cale. Yeah, so Hughes' best season was 17 goals, 75 assists, and that was last year in 82 games. So playing a full season. And that's to Makar's best season, which was 77 games played, 28 goals, 58 assists in 21-22.
Yeah. Who do you think's better?
I love Quinn Hughes, but show me 3 more years of what he did last year, and we can revisit this conversation. I think Cale Makar is by far and away.
Makar's 1 year older.
But like even last year, so the season, I think Makar was pretty much the second in Norris voting, was he not?
I mean, you could just guess yes and probably be right, but let's find out. Cale Makar was third.
Cale Makar was third. Okay.
Quinn had 1,000 more votes than him. It was Quinn, Roman Josi, then Cale Makar.
Yeah, and I think Quinn last year absolutely.
Quinn had 96% of the vote.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that at all. Quinn Hughes was the Norris winner last year. I'm just saying that to talk about the best defenseman in the league, and if Quinn is in that, he's in that conversation. Absolutely. He won a Norris, so he has the silverware to show. But again, 3 more years, and we can be talking about him as best defender in the league. I think he still has plenty of competition for that role. I mentioned Seider earlier. I'm fully expecting Seider to be in that conversation.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. I think he had a sophomore slump or something like that. I know
he had an amazing Calder year.
Yeah.
And pretty much just stepped onto Detroit's blue line, and I don't think there's been much doubt since. But so, give Quinn 2-3 more years, give Seider 2-3 more years. We'll see where Makar is in 2-3 more years. The Avalanche haven't looked good. They've kind of been riddled with problems. And it'll be interesting. And I'm sure we're forgetting, Lane Hudson, the start he's had to his season. Look at him in 2-3 years. There's going to be a lot of competition for that kind of spot as being the best defender in the league. Kiefer Sherwood, he's causing a bit of pain around the league right now, hey?
Yeah, that was a great segue. Is that something you wanted to bring up?
No, I just thought I was going to ask you if you thought it was sustainable.
Throwing 10 hits a game, or what did he throw last? I think it was
10. I think
it was a career high.
Oh, he beat his career. I know he tied his career high that he set a few games ago at 10.
Jesus. Yeah, how many hits does he have so far in the season? Do you know?
Last I checked, it was like 40 something, 44, and it may even be higher at this point. I have a feeling he's probably in the 50s.
And on top of that, what's kind of impressive too is that he also, I want to make sure I'm not wrong about this. Let me check here. He doesn't have many penalties either. So he's playing on the edge very, very safely. Let me see here. 4 penalty minutes. That's it. Just 4. Yeah. She's taken 2 penalties in the 6 games while somehow you say 44 hits?
Yes. And are any of those penalties for boarding or roughing?
No. I think, I'm just going to guess no, because I don't remember if that's right. I think it was like,
I can't answer it. So
probably hooking, probably tripping, something like that. Those are usually the ones.
It's nice to see because
pardon?
It's really nice to see because hopefully some of the load can be taken off of JT's back, because that traditionally has kind of been his role of kind of leading through physicality and almost a finisher check example player.
Wait, actually, yeah. I mean, just think about this. So not only has he only taken 2 penalties, which is amazing considering he's thrown 44 hits, but he also has 4 points in 6 games.
Yeah.
And he's also on the penalty kill. I'm just going to check the last 3 games. Yeah, basically a minute and 40 seconds in the last 2 games on the penalty kill, which is he's basically killed off 2 penalties, which cancels out the 2 he took, I guess you could say. But okay, the question was, is it sustainable? I don't know. I haven't watched a full season of him. I remember him pissing me off in the playoffs last year when he was on Nashville and attacking Quinn Hughes. And he did that for the full 6 games. But could he do it for a full 82 game schedule? I have no clue.
Yeah, because it's nice to see he looks in the past few games to be a pretty complete hockey player, which seems harder and harder to come by. He's got pretty good hands. He's got pretty good speed. He's got pretty good size, and he uses all of them to their maximum effect when he's on the ice. Like, I don't even think he has a ton of ice time. He's probably 13 minutes, 14 minutes a night kind of guy.
12 minutes and 45 seconds, it says here. That's even crazier. It keeps getting better. He's done all of that.
So when he's getting ice time, he's showing that he is a complete hockey player. And I mean, is it sustainable? You add 8 minutes a night to that? Probably not. I could imagine someone would.
Well, last game, the line of Sherwood, Heinen, and Blueger was very impressive. They honestly looked like the lifeline out there. Like they were really, really good. And that had my brain start thinking, I'm like, hold up for a second. If our third line could be Kiefer Sherwood, Danton Heinen, and Teddy Blueger, and that's a good third line. If they scored, I mean, Sherwood had 2 points, Heinen had 2 goals, Blueger had at least 1 assist, and Blueger's had a great start to the season as well. But anyways, if that can be our third line, that means you might be able to put Pettersson with Garland and Joshua.
Yeah.
How insanely sick. And then you have Höglander cycling between the top line and the bottom. I mean, I guess if DeBrusk is on the top line, he'd be down on the fourth line regardless, which is crazy to even think about. That's a 24, 25 goal scorer on the fourth line. Anyways, it just had me thinking, because when Dakota Joshua was back, they're obviously going to put him with Garland, right? How do you not?
It's going to take some time to get him up to speed, though, is the thing. So I would say Höglander is safely in top 6 for at least a few more weeks. As I said, when you combine depth like that with functioning first and second lines, when your top 6 players are playing well and you also have a bottom 6 that you have full confidence in, that's when we start to see, the kind of buzz and the want and the ability to dream that would be. But
I hope they caught that last part, because it cut out and you said dream.
What a dream that would be. But,
okay.
But here we are talking about how our highest paid player can't seem to crack it, coming off of what could have been a career year.
Dude, when he gets that first goal, I am going to scream so loud. Like, I remember thinking when he got that puck, the one we keep referencing, and passed it over to Höglander, obviously that was the right thing to do. But I remember seeing that play unfold, thinking that was going to be his first goal. And I was like, my fist was clenched, my ass was clenched, everything was ready to let loose. And I did anyways, because it was Höglander. But I can't wait. Imagine a PD hat trick next game. Like, what would that do? That'd be sick. I want that so bad. I'm going to keep saying that till it happens. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've been going for a while now, and I kind of preface, like, I did an intro for this, which you haven't heard, as you said, but basically in the intro, I'm like, this is one of my best friends, and guess what? We like to argue. And so far, we're basically just agreeing with each other. So maybe before wrapping it up, is there an issue we could touch on? I mean, our arguments usually go like 2 hours, so I don't even know how we could hold ourselves back. But I mean, I did have one other questions for you with, like,
let's hear it.
I just want to know, are you getting your feelings hurt when we argue?
No.
Just because, like, I've won every single one.
No, it hurts my feelings when you say that.
Oh.
Well, no, I don't know. I wouldn't say hurt feelings.
Because you're 0 and 400 or something. Maybe there was a tie once. It's
like 15 years of losing.
Yeah. Dude, you're even playing along with this? No, I'm just gonna seem like a bully.
No, sure. No, I'll fight you on that. I'm a good Canucks fan. I'll lose year after year.
Period.
And I'll keep coming back.
Okay.
With myself, I can best you in an argument, and then you'll tell me that I didn't, and I'll internalize that until the next argument.
Okay. So it is toxic.
I don't know. You tell me. I'm still here.
You're still here, but you're in a basement swimming.
Do you have an indoor pool?
I have a bathtub, which I think would be a better place to do whatever you're doing.
I don't know. I have a 800 square foot pool.
Are you? How big is the apartment or the basement suite?
It's like about 800 square feet, not including the stairs, because I need those to get out. But
okay, so is the fridge submerged?
No, the fridge is above the water line. It's all pool down here.
Okay. I'm picturing the most fucked up thing, dude. You gotta be more like what? So you have everything lifted above the water?
Yeah, well, the water's about waist deep, and I have a bunch of floaties around, so I can kind of sit, and just lounge, half submerged.
All outlets.
What? They're just above waist height.
You moved the wall outlets up, or did you go into this weird shaped place and realize, the wall outlets are really high here. I could make this a pool?
I mean, if you're not looking at any basement as a potential indoor pool, I don't know why you're buying real estate.
Are you just in your normal clothes right now?
Yeah, I'm just on an air mattress floating around. I don't have to get wet if I don't want to.
Fuck. And you watch hockey on a floating air mattress?
No, the TV's wall mounted.
Well, still, but you're on that's essentially your couch.
You're making this sound like I'm crazy. I'm not. I'm ahead of the curve.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And the fact your name is Carl is like, this episode is going to say featuring Carl.
Featuring Carl, yeah.
I wish this came out in between like me interviewing Eddie Lack and Brendan Morrison, because It's like reverse clickbait. Yeah, like no one.
Who the fuck is Carl? That's it? Period?
Imagine if Drake's name was Carl. Do you think he would have still gotten as famous?
The world would be a better place.
Like, okay, the world would be a better place if Drake was the exact same way he is now, same music, same everything, but his name was Carl from the beginning.
Yeah, way less bullying.
Way less bullying is what you just said?
Way less bullying.
Like, just across the board, way less bullying.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of get what you mean. It's just a really funny thing to say. Man, I wish Drake's name was Carl, because then there'd be way less bullying.
If you had a chart-topping artist named Carl, people would warm up to the idea that, Carls aren't what they used to be.
And what did they used to be? Because to me, they're like schnortling. I mean, anyone listening whose name might be Carl, I'm obviously kidding, but I've never met a Carl, or at least that I became friends with. Oh no, that sounds like I'm not going to become friends with Carl. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to rant about the name Carl. I was just going to say it doesn't make
a nice name. It's a stoic name.
I mean, you keep saying stoic. Like, what do you mean, man?
Just
Just for anyone listening who doesn't know, my friend here chose the name Carl because he said it's stoic, which means a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. And, I suppose maybe it's just my own personal experience, but all I can picture when I think of the name Carl, and I'm sorry to any real Carls out there, is that fat nerd from Jimmy Neutron. And I'm saying fat nerd not to be mean. I'm just like, that's literally his character. I bet if you looked at the script, it was like, oh, and the fat nerd will name Carl. Okay, I'm just saying. And there's nothing wrong with being a fat nerd. In fact, I'm kind of a fat nerd sometimes.
It's funny that I picked a name that I'm claiming to be stoic, and one of the questions you asked me is if I ever internalize the fact that I lose every single argument.
Yeah. And the fact that stoicism is something that you're so passionate about as you float on a air mattress in a basement suite pool.
Yeah, accept the world as you find it.
You built that. You did not find that. Well, if this episode does well and people like it, we'll have Carl back, and maybe we'll get some viewer submitted questions for Carl, because I think you did a good job of representing your takes on the NHL and on the Canucks, and representing your living situation. Hello? Did you just leave?
No, my fucking internet box just fell into the pool.
Jesus Christ. Oh man, it's working now? You drying it off?
It's in rice. I just threw it on rice quick. You got to keep rice handy and move it quick.
How do you cook in there?
I thought I explained everything floats. I thought I explained this. It's also only waist deep, so like once you're above and your table, you're just half submerged, but the top part, the flat part's there.
What you just said pissed me off so much, man. What do you mean? I said how do you cook, and you said everything floats.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe that's a good place to end it. Because we've been going a long, long time at this point.
You'll have a lot to trim down.
If there's something you want me to cut out.
Well, I think just when I went underwater, there's no point to keep.
I think you went underwater quite a lot. You're just falling off the mattress.
Did I actually go underwater quite a bit?
I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to sound. I can't tell. Like, ideally, I mean, look. Right now it's fine, and it'll be okay because I understood you for the most part. So it might not just sound as professional or whatever, but like, it doesn't matter. People will be able to understand you. However, what I'm really hoping for is that the way this recording system works is that it's like recording from your device and from my device somehow. But like now that I said that out loud, I kind of think it's just recording the call that's taking place. I don't know. We'll see. But there were parts where you're like, yeah, I think Pettersson.
Okay, well, here, let me put it this way. I'm at my desk and I'm looking at a microphone on it. So if the audio is completely shit, I could figure out a way to probably connect that.
And redo all this?
Well, no, not redo. Like if you need parts redone or something.
For those of you who can't see, which is everybody, Carl just showed me a microphone that he could have been using this whole time. So
it's dry too.
That's awesome.
Thank you for having me.
You don't need to say thank you. Are you really honored?
I am very honored to have
like
been
you're
a guest.
honored. You're not just saying thank you. You're actually honored.
7-year-old me never would have thought that I would be on a podcast cycle that also had Brendan Morrison and Eddie Lack.
Actually, that's a nice way to put it. I thought that okay. That's a funny thought. Cool. Okay, you have to go. I have to go. I have to edit this. Okay, so yeah.
Sponsored by Kleenex.
Pardon?
Sponsored by Kleenex. Shout out Kleenex.
No, it's not sponsored by anybody. But if for those of you listening still at this point, which I'm sure has dwindled down to a very small number, if you liked Carl, leave a nice comment. Tell him you like him. Maybe tell him to
drain the basement.
Yeah, tell him to drain the basement.
If you liked the podcast, leave a comment just saying drain the basement, and I'll know what you mean.
Actually, yeah, if you're listening right now, leave a comment saying drain the basement so we know how many people actually stayed.
And they'll get a little prize or something.
Okay, well, thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Nuckhead.
Okay, bye.
Bye.